Welcome back to the Bold Moves podcast. We are glad that you are with us today. We got Corey in the house. We got Kristen in the house. You guys ready to rumble? Let's dive in. I heard a random fact this week that I'm just going to share with you. It's very random.
Okay.
I found out there's a new study that proved that the attention span for people is now shorter than it's ever been. In fact, it's actually shorter. Yeah, I know. I already lost your attention. I guess, let's just have a fun time guessing.
Yeah.
The average attention span of a goldfish. Do you know how long that is? A goldfish?
Oh, man.
15 seconds.
Oh, that's a good guess.
I'll say 7 seconds, just to be less.
Very good guesses. The average attention span of a goldfish is 9 seconds.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
Is the average attention span of the person using social media right now more or less than a goldfish?
Well,
Where are
this
we
is
at?
such a weird
Less.
thought.
Where are we at
Less.
as a society?
Why would somebody say, like, show a statistic that says it's more than a goldfish? So it's got to be
It's
less.
got to be
right?
less. We are officially 8 seconds. We have the attention
really?
span that is now shorter than a goldfish.
I actually would have thought, just thinking about scrolling online or through Reels or something,
Yes.
it's about 3 seconds.
It's very,
you have to have,
very fast.
You have to have them that quick.
It depends what it is, right? Because, like, okay, we're talking about this. So we're making a podcast today, right?
Yeah,
This
we're
is what
making
we're
a
doing.
podcast.
We're making
That's
a
what we're doing.
podcast. It's going to be 20 to 30 minutes, typically, is what we're doing, hoping people pay attention.
And in the last 8 seconds, they've all signed off, Corey.
Yeah.
Thanks a
Yeah,
lot.
they're on to the next one.
But isn't it funny? Like, the most successful podcasts are the ones that go like 2 or 3 hours.
It's a
Yeah.
strange
wild. Yeah.
dichotomy. It's a
Yeah.
weird world that we
Yeah.
live in. But yeah, they used to say, like, when commercial breaks started to happen in TV,
Oh, yeah.
you had people for 8 minutes, and then you can break, go to commercial, and then get them back for 8 minutes.
Yeah.
And now that's trending down to 8 seconds.
Oh, man.
So good. We were talking with a bunch of pastors because we're nerds about, like, how important, like, you know, the structure of your sermon is to keep people engaged. You need a good introduction. In the olden days, you need a great introduction, a good story. The first 2 or 3 minutes, it matters. Engage them. And now people are like, really? You have 8 seconds. Like, so it's down to 8 seconds. But the good news is, anytime you have a good 8-second run, people re-engage. So it's fantastic.
Corey, I don't know if you've done this with your kids, but when my kids are watching some TV show, I watch and I start counting how many seconds until, like, characters move or a scene changes.
Oh, yes.
Interesting.
It's fast and it's clockwork. Yeah.
You know what happens? The short attention spans. My youngest daughter, we're watching like a YouTube video, and in the middle somewhere, like an advertisement comes on, because that's what YouTube does. And she immediately goes, "Oh no!" So it's like a race to the remote to try to find a way to make sure it can go past that ad as fast as possible.
So good.
Yeah.
That's so good. So I don't know. Let's talk about this. Can we just have a random conversation? Let's talk about this. If our attention spans are down to 8 seconds. Can we just think about that? Try to think about that for 8 seconds and see if that becomes a difficult thing. Like, if our attention spans have become so short that we're literally getting beaten by goldfish. Really? What does that say about, like, the things that are significant in life? Like, am I actually neglecting really important things in my life? Because I'm being distracted by my short attention span. Like, I think immediately, like, let's get serious. Like, talking about my relationship with God. Well, if my attention span is 8 seconds, I can literally have the best intentions and say, hey, I am going to spend time with Jesus this morning. I can open up my devotional, open up my Bible, whatever that looks like. And it's quite possible that 8 seconds into that experience, I get completely distracted and go off and do something else.
I have a funny story. This is timely. Yesterday, I was like, I really should. I'm going to turn the Bible app on. And I did. And I didn't know, but I had it sped up, like the reading, the audio port.
Yes.
And I was like, wow, this is really fast. And I felt guilty. And I slowed it down. I was like, why am I trying to speed this up?
There it is. Case in point. The Bible isn't speaking to me fast enough. It goes 2 times speed now. Oh, my word.
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay. That is extraordinarily timely.
It is.
Great story. Great story. So the attention span, like, that's a thing. Like, I think it's honestly, it does more damage to us than we realize, because the idea in our culture anymore of just silence, like actually just being silent and being still, is a completely foreign concept. Like, nobody wants silence. And I think for a lot of reasons, I think people are dealing with so much stuff right now, especially we talk about this a lot in a culture that's turning away from Jesus. If you have silence and you're forced to think about things that are actually always at the back of your mind or you're harboring in your soul that you know you're unsettled and they're not right. Silence is when those things come come to front of mind. Yeah. And silence, nobody likes that. And so leaning away from that it's kind of a defense mechanism. It makes you
uncomfortable, right? So my job among my jobs at Crossroads, one of those is to help produce our services on Sunday mornings or our weekend services. And so we actually do a lot of really intentional planning. Like many hours, honestly, go into a service to make sure that there are not even 3 seconds of awkward silence in the middle of a service. Because once something doesn't happen for 3 seconds, people start looking around like, what happened?
Yes.
And they immediately look to the people in the production booth and they're like, what did you do wrong this time? But honestly, it's so we do everything we can to try to not let that happen. But yeah, that kind of speaks a little bit to exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know why that new fact, this is a new study find, 8 seconds attention. I don't know why that messed with me so much, but I feel like if we took some time as a people, as a culture, and just talked about that, we would realize, man, we become, is it weird to say we become mentally weak? I am not able to just keep focusing on things that really matter. And I think when it comes to getting work done, you do have to kind of lock in, all right, this is what I'm focusing on at this moment. I've always had kind of the ADD. I hop from thing to thing, but I can pay attention for more than 8 seconds. Just to be clear, that hasn't struck me just as bad yet. I
want to know who did the study because they probably are so boring. No, I'm just kidding. They can focus that long.
Isn't there an old Adam Sandler movie, I think it's 50 First Dates, where there's the character 10-second Tom? Is it a 2-second Tom? Do you guys remember what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
He has the memory problem where he can only remember short term for 10 seconds. And so you have a conversation and he immediately forgets. He was in an accident. He can't. And the funniest part to that is, Tom, I have bad news for you. You were in a terrible accident. You have no memory. And he's like, what? And he starts crying. No! And he's like, hey, Tom. Hey, what's going on?
That's funny.
It's ridiculous. Again, I say this with all sincerity. My boys are 17 and 14. We have the exact same sense of humor. I'm so immature. Those things make me laugh hysterically. But again, we got distracted. 8 seconds.
It happens so easily.
I think that what we are focusing on becomes exponentially more important now with the sudden decrease of our attention span. What I focus on, it matters. So spiritually, what am I intentionally focusing on in my life? What are the things that I am going to do, no matter how I feel or no matter how distracted I get? What are these things that I am going to get done? It's that idea of what are the things that I need to do that I don't want to do? That's what I have to focus on and say, this is going to get done. Again, the success you're looking for is on the other side of the work you're avoiding, right? It's that same principle. I think that being distracted, losing focus, just not paying attention to things that need my attention can unintentionally lead me down a path toward apathy, distraction. And it's not that you're bad. It's just that you've become busy. It's the old trick of the devil, right? If you can't make you bad, he'll make you busy. And I don't know. That's been front and center to me this week. I don't know why, but I've not been able to let that go. So I don't know. Does that resonate with you guys at all?
What are the things that grab your attention, that keep that steal away? If you have a focus on something, and again, if we have such a short attention span, what are the things that grab your attention away from what it's supposed to be?
To identify those things in each of our lives is really important. Yeah. You know what ticks me off? It makes me angry sometimes. I will realize that I'm at a stage in my life where I'm blessed to have my 2 boys in my home right now. Yeah. Carter's a junior, Jake is a freshman. And I look back at you guys have pictures pop up on your phone. Those pop up now and they don't make me smile as much anymore as they make me depressed. Oh no. There's a picture of Carter when he was 4 and Jake when he was 2. Yeah. That was yesterday. How is this happening? Yeah. And so what ticks me off is I'll realize I've got this amazing time with my boys where they do study after study that 80% of the time you have with your child is before they're 16. And after that, it's you enjoy the time that you have with them because they're sports, work, whatever.
Yeah.
And I get angry when I realize, oh, this is a moment, this is an evening. Carter's home, Jake's home, and they're both in their rooms playing video games on their iPads, whatever. I'm in the living room scrolling on Facebook, looking at reels. Like, what am I doing? What a waste of time. I have my family here, and I'm distracted from something really great for something that has no purpose or meaning whatsoever.
Yeah. You know what it is for me sometimes? Like, I think I figured this out a few years ago. Like, my phone obviously is a distraction for a lot of people, for sure. But like, what I realized is that my personality is such that if I see a little red number on one of my apps on my phone, I have to click it. I can't not click it. You know, the people that have like 150,000 emails in there and it says that right there, I'd be like, you are driving me crazy. So what I did a long time ago is there's a few apps that I allow to do that, but most of them I don't allow to send me any kind of notification like that.
Yeah.
So like, even email, for example, like I love my job. I think it's really important what I do, but there are hours during the day I want nothing to do with responding to somebody else's email. And so if there's something that pops up in my inbox, I'm not going to see it until I am good and ready to sit down and look at email and be ready to answer some emails. And I think that's okay. And I've gotten more and more comfortable with not immediately responding to somebody's text that they might send. Yeah. And man, that's not my personality by default at all. That's like a learned behavior. So those are the kinds of things that always want to grab my attention and steal away my focus.
Yeah. 100%. You deal with that in your daily routine, just being distracted.
So
what's that look like?
That devotional that I slowed
sped
down
through.
to read. It was talking about order and chaos, how God is the order in chaos. And coincidentally enough, it was perfect timing because I sat down with my husband because our calendar, we have one on the wall at home. Yeah. We're old school like that, but it has something on each day. Yeah. And we were walking through it together because he travels for work. And I'm like, and thankfully he has the luxury of kind of choosing when he travels. And I'm like, well, we have this, whatever. Yep. And then we had other things pop up like, well, our vehicle need worked on. We actually have to buy a new furnace for our house. Like, it's just all of these things. And I was just praying. I was like, this is chaos. Yes. This is absolute chaos. It's taking away from this. I can't give my all to my kids, to my job or my relationship with God. I was like, this is chaos. And it was that reminder that God is the order in the chaos. And he will take whatever you have left over and use it. Yeah. So, I experienced that, but hey, like I did a devotional and I've got it figured out now. So cheers.
I think it becomes more and more important. Like I've always thought this is a great passage of scripture in Hebrews chapter 12. In fact, you'll know why this is hilarious when I say it. My first youth group, we had like a theme one year, and it was cross-eyed, which I thought was hilarious because it had the duplicate meaning, like eyes on the cross. Okay. Or is it like cross-eyed? we didn't know. We had a lot of fun being stupid with that. I see two crosses. That kind of thing. But the reality is, when in Hebrews 12, it says, let us keep our eyes fixed on Jesus. Right. Like, keep your eyes focused on Jesus. Why? Because he is the author and the perfecter of your faith. Like, there is something powerful about your focus, about the idea of fixing your eyes on Jesus, staying focused on him. What you focus on matters in life. Yeah. If I learned nothing else in 4 years of studying psychology, like really, I didn't learn all that much, honestly. It's pretty common sense. For anyone who's a psychology major out there, I apologize. It just seemed like common sense to me. But the reality, it's mostly active listening. Like, Corey, say something to me. We're at a counseling session.
Tim, I'm sorry, but I just really feel terrible about myself right now.
Corey, so what I hear you saying is you feeling terrible about yourself right now.
Oh, that just changed everything. Thank you so much.
What I have just shown you is called active listening, and it's something that a lot of people use. Congratulations, you're welcome.
Oh my word. Now that you say that, I know how, oh my word. It opens the door. I've seen all the different times you've used that on me in the past.
That's so good.
He's got a running bill for you.
Yes, yeah, I got a big charge coming your way. No, when you talk about the idea of the power of focus, it's the power of perspective. Also, it's knowing that God is the God of order, that God is the author and the perfecter of my faith. And when that's my perspective, when that's how I'm looking at life, there is power in perspective. That's the one thing I remember from college. My professor, Dr. Richter, there's power in perspective. That's how he said it all. He'd clap his hands. There's power in perspective. And I don't know why I remember that from college, but that's how he said it all the time. And I remember
Maybe
it.
because he sounded like a Muppet.
He did sound like a Muppet. I had all of my classmates dying laughing also because I would mock him. I would say, when he would say that, I would say it back. There's power in perspective. And they were all dying because it's a pretty spot on impersonation. And thankfully, he thought it was funny. Otherwise, I would have been in big trouble.
Could have been bad.
Yeah. But when that is your perspective, when you are focusing on Jesus despite the distractions and the short attention span, I mean, that's how you get from here to there. That's how you experience the change in your life that he wants you to experience. And when we talk, like at church right now, we're talking about this idea of celebrating the change. That's the area that we're leaning into. God wants to radically change our lives. And if I stay focused on him and don't allow these other things to distract me, that is absolutely 100% possible. Like I have the power to overcome all the distractions, all the temptations in my life by keeping my eyes fixed on Jesus. And I come back, I think that's probably why it's bothering me so much. If our attention spans are 8 seconds, like are you being serious right now? It just makes it that much more difficult to stay focused on the things that truly matter. And I just want to circle that today. Maybe that's something that people who are watching or listening today just need to identify in our own lives. I know for me that's true. So, I get distracted.
So that's like an undisciplined attention span, right?
Yes.
So that's what kind of happens naturally if you're not staying on top of it.
Yes.
But we all have the ability to change that, right?
Absolutely.
To do our best to keep our focus and to not let any of those other things distract us.
100%.
It's funny that you're talking about Hebrews 12, keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. A really significant moment in my life. I was 16 years old. It was the weekend. I was at a retreat weekend, and it was the weekend that I actually gave my life to Jesus really fully for the first time. And there's a significant moment that happened on like the second day of it where they challenged you. We went off one by one, those of us that were part of this, and walked down a path that was probably about 200 yards long. And at the end of the path was a statue of Jesus, and it was dark, and the statue was lit up. And they told us, whatever happens around you, just keep your eyes fixed on him. Don't let your eyes go off of Jesus. So
interesting.
I'm like a little bit scared as they're unpacking that, and I'm thinking like, who's going to jump out at me in the middle of this walk down the path? Instead,
do not look left, do not look right.
Right.
No matter what you hear.
Instead, there was like this community of people that were singing songs and uplifting us, and it was a really significant moment
That's powerful.
As I'm walking down this path, literally my eyes fixed on Jesus. So it's probably about a minute and a half walk total.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, like you're just in tears because you realize the significance of what it means to really keep your eyes fixed and stay focused on the things that are important.
Yeah. That's a really powerful moment.
Yeah,
I love that. Yeah. It all ties to Hebrews 12. Who knew?
It really does.
Conversely, I always love the story of Peter when he walks on the water and he comes out to the boat, or actually Jesus is walking on the water, comes out to the boat. The disciples think he's a ghost. I don't know if anybody remembers that. I always think that's funny. Like, there's somebody walking. They've been with Jesus for like 3 years. Like, what is a ghost? It's like, guys, it's me. Like, these guys were not bright. I mean, they were not the brightest crayons in the box. And I'm thankful for that because that means God can use me.
Like when Lazarus died and everybody's like, Jesus says, Lazarus is asleep. And they're like, if he's sleeping, why doesn't he just wake up? Lazarus is dead.
And he's like, I'll bring him back to life. And one of my favorite verses in the whole King James version of the Bible is like, you can't raise him to dead now. Behold, he stinketh. That's what it says. Behold, he stinketh.
Isn't that encouraging for us? Those were the disciples. Those are the ones that Jesus picked, and they are not among the brightest. He continues to choose those people today. We are living proof. No, but Jesus comes out to the disciples walking on the water. And when he says, it's me, Peter's response is, if it's you, tell me to come out on the water, which, to be clear, anybody could have said that. It could have been a ghost that said, it's me. And it didn't make any sense. Yeah. But Peter jumps out of the boat and starts walking on water. And we need to just highlight
that for a brief couple of seconds, Peter actually walked on water. How cool is that? Like he did the miraculous while he was focusing on Jesus. And he might have had an even shorter attention span than 8 seconds. He was the original. Like, it's all falling apart. I can't stay focused during this time. So he gets distracted by the wind and the waves. He takes his eyes off of Jesus, to your point, and he begins to sink. And then he cries out, and Jesus is right there to help him out. And he says, why did you doubt? And I think that applies to us so incredibly well today because we get distracted. We have to stay focused on Jesus, and we have to be willing to be obedient and to be disciplined because the life that he is calling us to is absolutely worth it. It's the life that we were created for. He wants to see us change and to grow and to become more like him and to lead others into that. And he's calling us to this beautiful life, to this beautiful mission, to the life that we were created for. And I think it just comes down to us. It's re-emphasizing the significance of me staying focused on him.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so that 8-second attention span drives me crazy.
Well, and what you said is actually, that's really significant to say that it's worth it to have that focus. It's worth it to go through what is creating a new discipline in your life to be able to have that focus for longer. And I just think that sometimes like we say that and we know that that's like, if once you're on the other side of that and maybe you've done some of that, you recognize how true that is. But I think for some people, like I don't know, maybe they just are feeling like, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's worth it. I don't see the reward. And so that's where it becomes a little more difficult for people to make that decision because it is a discipline. It's not it's like you just say, okay, my attention span is typically 8 seconds. I'm going to say right now it's going to be 2 minutes instead.
Yes.
No,
lean into it. Yeah. Lean into it. I mean, I think the worst thing that we would be look back in our life, the worst thing that we could realize is that just we squandered time. We squandered the opportunities. Mm-hmm. And if it all came down to the fact that I was just distracted, I couldn't stay focused. I feel like those are going to be the source of some of our biggest regrets in life. Yeah. If you look back and I missed all these things because I was scrolling on my phone. Really? Like, really? Come on now. God has so much more in store for us and such a deeper and meaningful life. Let's live that life. Let's stay focused on Jesus and not miss a thing. So I would just say in this random conversation that we've had that's ended up being the whole podcast, I think the challenge is to make the bold move and be focused, right? Stay focused. Don't allow yourself to be distracted by things that just don't matter. Does that mean you're never on your phone? No. Get on your phone, do what you need to do. Mm-hmm. But make sure that you're setting aside the time for the things that matter and not allowing those distractions in life to take your focus on those things. Is that fair enough?
I think so. Absolutely.
I think we've accomplished something here. Kristen, do you have anything to add, or is it been too fast, too slow? Do you need to speed it up, slow it down? What are we doing?
I was going to add one thing, but if you're done, then
no. Okay. Add one more thing, Kristen. Yeah.
So we were just talking about distractions being our phones or physical things. For me, my biggest distraction that keeps me away from God and what He has for me is my attitude.
Interesting.
And so I've noticed over the last couple of years that if the moment I get overwhelmed with too many things going on in my life, my attitude starts going really sour fast. And I mean, that happens.
We've all noticed that too, Kristen.
Well, my husband and my kids remind me of it. He said, actually this morning, John said, "You're stressing the kids out." And I was like, "That's because I'm stressed out." and so, but that's my distraction. If I'm not aware, it's going to distract what God had. God can use everybody. It's kind of hard for Him to use your sour attitude. Yeah, I get. So yeah,
it can be a distraction.
Yeah, the TikTok, the sports, or whatever you're being distracted. Those. Okay, make time for that. But I don't know. You just have to have a good. Maybe I'm just preaching to myself. I have to have a good mood.
No, I love the phrase that you can be right, but if you have the wrong attitude, you're wrong. Your attitude matters. And that can be distracting because if you're not in the right position, I think that comes down to posture, right? It's the posture of my heart exhibiting itself in my attitude. If I'm not in the right place, I'm going to be more easily distracted if I'm not already. And I think that absolutely plays. Kristen, you fought for that to be added at the end, and you should have. That was
Not
fantastic.
Really, you just asked. So
That's true. I'm making that out to be much bigger than it was.
The real question is, does everybody have the attention span to even get to this point in the podcast?
That's true.
I mean, here we are.
Honestly, if you're listening right now, congratulations. Your attention span is fantastic. Way longer than a goldfish. So give yourself a round of applause.
It's possible it was just like running in the background while you were doing all kinds of other
or they're
things.
still driving and they're not there yet.
They're still driving.
So there is a quiz for you to take after the end of this.
Just to make sure. Let's have some Q&As. That's kidding. Perfect. I love it. Hey, when we talk about the idea of bold moves and being bold, sometimes it's just making those decisions to do the things I don't want to do, to lean in, to focus on the things that matter. And I'll just challenge you today. If you've been distracted, your relationship with God is suffering because you've been distracted, refocus. Fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of your faith. He wants to radically change your life and give you the life to the full. So lean in and give him the chance to do it. I think that's the boldest move we can make.
Let's do it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. It's time to make that bold move. So here's where we sign out by just being awkward. Just be bold. Boldly move. Bold moves. Bold moves.
Be bold.
Be bold. We'll see you next time.